First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood, a family-made media podcast. Joining me on the show today is country music sensation Chris Lane. Chris Lane's music has been streamed more than 1.5 billion times on demand. He's had more than 3 #1 country music songs. He and his wife, Lauren Bushnell, were recently featured in People magazine as they announced they are expecting their second child. Exciting stuff. Honored to have him on the podcast today. Get down there, smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Chris Lane on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father Chris Lane. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, man, what's up? Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, let's start like this. How many kids do you have? How old?
I have one that just turned 1, and then one that's about to be born here in October. So we have our daggone hands full, that's for sure.
Yeah, very exciting. You know what you're having? Did you do a gender reveal or you're waiting to the end?
We're going to wait to the end. We do know what we're having for the second baby, but so baby one was a boy. I know my wife was kind of hoping for a girl on baby 2, so we could potentially stop there. But if it ends up being a boy, we're going to have to try for 3 for her.
Yeah, I had to try for 4, so I had 3 boys, then got the girl. So it could take a while.
Oh my gosh, man. 4. I know what it's like having 1. I can't even imagine what it would be like having 4.
The fun is in the trying. The challenge is on there on the other end when they come out. So we get to participate in the fun part. If you could, Chris, please just take a minute to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a country artist. I tour the country, playing shows, and I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee, writing music, usually during the weeks, and then out on tour on the weekends. But music is not something that I've done my entire life like a lot of guys. I grew up playing football, baseball, and I'm going to give a very short sided story of how I got to this point. But grew up playing football and baseball with an identical twin brother. We both moved on, played college baseball, assumed that I would be playing professional baseball right now, not ever knowing that I would be in the music industry and out here on the road touring with all the guys that I grew up going to watch in concert. It's been quite the change, but in the best way. You know, I feel like everything happens for a reason. I had 2 ACL reconstructions that hurt my chances at moving on to play professional baseball. My twin brother had his opportunity to go do so. Didn't take it. He now plays drums in my band. So it's a lot of fun that we get to still take this ride together. I guess a different ride than playing sports. But, you know, I met my wife about 3-4 years ago. We got married pretty quickly. And like I just mentioned, we had a little boy about a little over a year ago, and another baby on the way right now that is about to pop out any minute, it feels like.
Yeah, and so right there, about a year ago or so, take me through that. I know it's recent, you're having your second one here, but so far, how has becoming a dad changed your perspective on life?
Man, I feel like, you know, this year for me, I've toured less than I ever have before. That's because, you know, it's their first year of life. You want to be there as much as you possibly can. And, you know, mama's needed as much help as possible. You know, I think this has been a massive life change for both of us because it's our first. You know, we met, like I said, 3 years ago, got married pretty quickly, and all of it happened so fast. But it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me, in the best kind of way. It's made me a completely different person, for the best. And I guess that's what kids do, right? They change your life.
Yeah, and like I said, I have four. My two oldest ones are only 15 months apart. So my wife was pregnant like yours very early on, right after we had the first one. And we were the same way. We met in a September. We were engaged that December, married that February. So it was all pretty quick for us, and then had our first child the following year. And so I know that, and it kind of, I guess, forces you to bond more with that first child while your wife is pregnant with the second one. What have been, I know that the pregnancies, all four for my wife, I mean, she could get into the minuscule stuff of how different they all were. For me, it all kind of really seemed the same, from my take. How has it been this far, second go around with your wife being pregnant here? Any differences from the first time?
Yeah, she's actually been a little sicker the second time around, which was surprising. But she's in the late trimesters now, so been feeling a lot better. Minus, she feels huge, and seems like baby's growing a lot every day. But I would say, from my perspective, I'm still out there on the road touring, so Mama's had to do a lot at the end of the day. But you know what? I know what my job is when I come in off the road. No matter how tired I am, she needs a break. So I am all hands on deck when I get home. I've kind of taken writing has kind of taken a back seat here for a while, so I can make sure my weeks I'm there for her and for him as much as possible. And I tell you what, there's nothing better than letting her sleep in the morning. I get to get up with them for the first couple of hours, and we just jumped into our routine, man, and have so much fun.
Yeah, awesome. Has it changed you in any way so far as a songwriter or as a performer? Has becoming a dad changed you in that way at all yet?
I would say definitely. I have a whole new set of inspiration as far as songwriting goes, and obviously not every single song that I write is a song that is inspired by him, but I do have one in particular that I wrote for him a couple of months before he was born, called "Ain't Even Met You Yet," and it was strictly for as a first-time father, I was experiencing all these feelings about becoming a first-time dad. Having kids was not something that I always wanted in my life. In fact, I feel like for years I prayed, Lord, this is not something that I want. And it took me meeting someone that I fell in love with to change my perspective on that. And I remember the day that, I don't think I've ever told the story, but I remember the day that Dutton was born. My wife was in the bathroom, and I was just standing there holding him. I had this Christian playlist that I was listening to, and I was holding him in my arms, and I just bawled my eyes out. And I don't cry over anything. Like, I'm not a very emotional person when it comes to that, but just holding him in my arms for the first time, I just said, Lord, thank you so much for not listening to me, and how stupid I was before, because I would have never have known the kind of love that I know now with having a little man.
Yeah, wow, that's really powerful stuff, Chris. And you talk about God or faith. Is faith something that's important in your life, and is that something that you hope to instill in your kids? And what other values do you hope to instill in your kids growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for Lauren and I both, that is probably the most important thing. And probably the most important thing that we want to instill in Dutton. We want him to know who Jesus is. We want him to know what he's done for us and what he's done for the whole world, and I think that I grew up going to church my whole life, and it's been something incredibly important to me. And again, yeah, I think we will instill that in Dutton in hopes that he wants to follow it like we do.
Yeah, I got 3 altar boys myself, so yeah, we run a lot of faith in this family over here as well. So cool to hear. And I know that your wife Lauren was on was a winner there on the Bachelor. I've had several of the guys from the Bachelor on here that have had success, some that didn't. All good fathers now as they moved on from that. Did you see your wife's season on there? Were you aware of that, or if not, did you go back and watch it after?
And I make this joke all the time. In fact, I feel like I made it last night. But I said, honey, I feel like we should just both sit down and go back through and watch your season. And she's like, absolutely not. You're not allowed to do that. So we haven't done that yet. But I want to say, I guarantee you, I used to watch The Bachelor all the time, so I guarantee I saw somewhat of her season if I randomly was watching it on a Monday night. I think is the nights that it used to come on. But I guarantee I never put much thought into that. But I actually met her not long after she came off that show at a radio event in Austin, Texas that I was playing at, and I think she was presenting another artist on stage, and long story short, we met that night, kept in touch over the years. And about 4 years separated from that night is when she was single, I was still single, and I was going on a trip to the Bahamas, and just randomly asked her if she wanted to go. And while we were there, kind of hit it off, and man, I made fun of all my buddies for jumping into relationships fast and watching them get married very quickly after meeting somebody. And I always called them an idiot. And here I am. I did the same exact thing.
Well, I'll tell you, it's better for her to be on The Bachelor than be the Bachelorette, because it's her going after one guy as opposed to her making out with 30 other guys on the stage, so it's at least better that way.
For sure. I could not agree more. But yeah, you know what? I'm thankful that she did it, because I probably would have never met her. I mean, she's from Portland, Oregon, and I was from North Carolina. We couldn't be any further away from each other. I probably would have never met her in my entire life. And to know the love that we share and the love that we have for each other, I feel like it's special. And I don't know if I would have found that in somebody else. In fact, I wasn't even looking for it when it happened. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, God's got a plan for sure. And what has it been like for you watching Lauren become a mom and take on that role of motherhood?
Oh my gosh, she is. I think we were both scared to death when we first knew that we were jumping into motherhood and fatherhood, because we're like, we don't even know what to do at this point. But I mean, just watching her be a mom is the best thing I've ever seen. I mean, the love that her and Dutton have. I mean, I can tell it's slightly different. He has a much different connection with her than he does with me, and I feel like it's probably like that. They're mama's boys when they're little, and then when they're old enough, you can probably tell me a little bit more so than I would know. But feels like when they're older and I can take them out and play golf, or we can do sports, all that kind of stuff, the connection changes a little bit.
Yeah, and it does. And you know what? Like I said, of my 4 kids, each one of them is different at every stage. So it's finding out. My oldest is 16 now. I don't know what the 17-year-old is going to be like. So it's like whatever age they are, that's where I play ball. So I enjoy each stage. They're all different. They all attack things in different ways, and it's just fun to get to watch who they become. In the process.
Sure, I agree, man. I'm so excited to just watch Dutton grow up, watch baby number 2 grow up, and just be the best dad that I can possibly be, and just be there for him as much as I possibly can, like my dad was for me.
What was the relationship like with your dad growing up? What kind of father was he?
I mean, he was an incredible father. At the end of the day, we did everything together, and my brother and I mean, we played football, baseball, basketball, so we were constantly doing sports, and our dad was always our coach. So I feel like we were literally always together. Like we did everything together. And I feel like he was an incredible father. And I think the most important thing was he kept us in church. And, because of that, I have a relationship with God. And I feel like that's the most important thing in life at the end of the day.
Awesome. What about as far as bedtime goes here, Chris? Are you reading them books, or are you hitting them with songs from the latest album? Like, are you a lullaby kind of guy? How does that work? So I know it's early yet, but how is it working with that?
Yeah, you know what? I will say this. Dutton loves music. I mean, it is weird how much he loves music. In fact, I play the guitar for him every day that I'm home. That's his favorite thing in the world, is when I play the guitar, and he usually likes to take over and beat the crap out of my guitar, but he always gets the biggest smile on his face. Or if we just put music on in general, he could be screaming, and that is the one thing that will always work to get him to stop. And at nighttime, he loves reading books. For whatever reason, he loves that. Or I'll sit there and play him my little mandolin that I've been learning how to play. He loves the sound of that thing.
Very, very cool. And I know now we're kind of past the pandemic, so you're in a good spot now, or a better spot than you would have been when you had your first child. There was kind of at the height of all that stuff. So what was that experience like, having a child, your first one, during the pandemic? Did you get to go to all the appointments? Were you in the delivery room the whole bit? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, honestly, it was a blessing in disguise. And I would have taken off the needed time that I would have had to have taken off, had I not been off basically for quite some time because of COVID. So it allowed me to be at home a lot those first handful of months, which I probably would have been out touring half of that time. So yeah, I got real acquainted real fast and learned how to change diapers. Just really got to help out mama a whole lot. And it was super special. I'm so happy that was kind of the silver lining for me, was that it happened in a good time as far as having a baby in the world, and being able to be at home all the time.
Awesome. And I know now, obviously, your second child coming here in October. What kind of plans or goals do you have here for yourself in the future? Working on any new projects, new albums? What's coming up next for you?
Yeah, I'm working on brand new music, and finally starting to get back into writing as much as possible. I was using most of my road days out there touring. I'd bring songwriters out on the road and would use the weekends to write as much as possible. But I'm going to take a significant amount of time off when baby number 2 gets here. So I'm going to use that downtime to write as many songs as possible and to work on a brand new project. And no timeline, but this will be my 3rd record. So I'm going to make sure that every song is perfect and every song that I love.
Right on with that. Last thing I want to hit you with here, Chris, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Best advice I can give you is to buckle up, baby. No, I would just say, I'm sure most guys are probably nervous about becoming first-time dads because it's a huge life change. I would say get as much sleep as you possibly can now before the baby gets here. But it is going to be the biggest blessing to your life, and it is going to be a love like you have never known.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. It's been an honor for me. I got to say, Chris Lane, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Heck yeah, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You have been listening to First Class Fatherhood. First Class Fatherhood is a family-made media podcast. Please visit www.firstclassfatherhood.com or www.familymade.com to find out more details. You can order First Class Fatherhood advice and wisdom from high-profile dads on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it. God bless, and I'll catch you next time.